So now we are going to see the applications of color emitter. Applications of color emitter. Okay, as we have studied, there are two types of color emitter. One is single beam and other is double beam color emitter. Okay, double beam color emitter is quite convenient for the use. Okay, and color emitters are used in the visible region, as we have seen during last lecture. So where these color emitters can be used, okay, so it is having large number of applications. We are also using these color emitters in our laboratory. Okay, for the last year we have used for the study of KMNA4 and to find out its lambda max for the analysis purpose. Okay, so in future wherever you go, so in the industry also people are using the color emitter. Now see, first is the estimation of biochemical compound in the blood. Then from blood plasma, serum, CSF and urine samples. Okay. So these are what the things from which you can do the analysis. What you can analyze? You can analyze the amount of glucose present in the body. Okay. You can find out the urea from the urine. You can find out creatinine present in the body. Then uric acid is there. Okay. Bilirubin you can also find out with the help of colorimeter. Lipids are there. Then total proteins content can be found out with the help of this colorimeter technique. And enzymes can be studied using colorimeter, and at the end minerals, okay, like for calcium, phosphorus, and few more number are there. So that elements can be studied with the help of colorimeter. Okay, so now we'll see single beam spectrophotometer. Single beam spectrophotometer. Single beam name itself indicates there is a single beam of light that is coming from the source of radiation. Okay, that passes through the collimating lens, and that comes to the monochromator. That may be your prism or diffraction grating. But here the picture is of prism. From there it passes to the sample. Okay, that polychromatic light get converted to the monochromatic, and that passes to the sample. Okay, now from there it goes to the focusing lens, and that fall upon the photocell. On the photocell, light energies get converted to the electric energy. That electrical energy then amplified in the amplifier, and from that amplifier the signal goes to the readout, over where you can see or note down the reading from digital display. So components, what components are there? Source of radiation is required in this technique. Monochromator, as I told you, two monochromators are there, prism and other is diffraction grating. Depending upon the requirement we can use it. Then sample holder is there. Okay, sample holder is there. Then photocell is there, that we have studied in the last lecture what the photocell is, how it is made up of. Okay, and the readout device is there. So source of radiation is tungsten lamp. Okay, which is generally used to obtain the visible light, UV light. Okay, and for that hydrogen and deuterium discharge lamp is used. Hydrogen deuterium discharge lamp is used. Okay, monochromator. So as I told you, tungsten used for obtaining visible light. Okay, and to obtain UV light you are going to use hydrogen and deuterium discharge lamp. Don't get confused in the sentence. Monochromator, as I told you, prism and diffraction grating are used. Prism and diffraction grating are used as a monochromator, where polychromatic light get converted to monochromatic light. Okay, then sample holder. What is the glass cuvette? Glass cuvette is used in the visible region, and for the UV region we need to use quartz cuvette. Okay, so this is what the cuvette can be used. Why the glass cuvette is not possible to use in the UV light? Because it absorbs the UV radiation. That is the reason we are shifting from glass cuvette to quartz cuvette in the UV region. So photocell, okay, the transmitted beam of light from the sample fall upon the photocell. Then electric current is produced over here, and that at the photocathode. Okay, as we have studied, if the current is small, then it can be amplified using the amplifier. and that can be recorded in the record or readout device, okay, in the form of absorbance and transmittance. Absorbance and transmittance. Now we'll see what are the monochromators used in the technique. Okay, see now, prism, okay. So the light, instant light is the mixture, or you can say it's a polychromatic light, but when it passes out of this prism, that comes as a, you know, separated beam of light. Okay, so all the lights will get separated into its individual wavelength. See, this is the diagram from your book, okay, in which you can see that the lambda 2 is comes out through the slit and lambda 1 is filtered. Okay, lambda 1 is filtered. So how that light is passing from the prism, and over there wavelengths are get separated as lambda 1, lambda 2. Such a different wavelengths are there. Here for the understanding they have mentioned lambda 1 and lambda 2. And the required wavelength you can select with the help of slit, and that wavelength is possible to fall upon the sample, and the analysis of sample can be carried out. Okay, this is how the technique works. The collimating beam is displayed by the prism into its constituent wavelength. Prism is then rotated to allow a particular wavelength to fall on the focusing lens and then emerge out as an exit slit. Okay, emerge out of exit slit. Slit width can be controlled. Okay, the width of slit can be controlled, and that helps to get the proper emergent beam. It is then observed that the wavelengths are not spread out uniformly, but that are the dispersion. Okay, but that the dispersion is greater for the shorter wavelength and smaller for the longer wavelength. And the wavelength which are shorter, they show somehow more dispersion. Okay, and for that sake there is a need to use the slit. Okay, now hence slit width is increased for the shorter wavelength, okay, and decrease for the longer wavelength. That with the help of adjusting the width of that slit, you can get the proper wavelength for the study purpose. This is what the use of that slit. Then glass prism is used in the visible region, as we have discussed, and quartz prism is used in the UV region because the glass absorbs the UV light. That's why we are preferring for the quartz prism. Okay, now here see on the screen there is a diffraction grating. Okay, so it is made up of aluminium specially. Okay, this is just a small portion, like you know, it's a like a biscuit. Okay, on which thousands, okay, 15 to 30,000 lines are there. 15 to 30,000 lines are there, and from which your light is going to get separated into its individual wavelength. When light fall upon this, okay, and that will now reflect from this to give you the particular wavelength. Okay, if you see in the larger the enlarged view, so this is what the grooves. Okay, this is the portion. It looks like this now. Okay, grooves are there, and the difference between two successive grooves is the D, small d. This is the enlarged view. See on your screen at the left side, you can see it very easily. Okay, now what happens when a light is reflected at the grating surface? Then dispersion takes place due to the constructive interference of reflected ray. Okay, constructive interference of reflected ray. The net path difference between the two rays is an integral multiple of wavelength, and each is given by equation n lambda is equal to d in bracket sin I plus minus sin theta, bracket complete. See now here n is a number of order of interference, lambda is a wavelength, d is the distance between two successive grooves, I is the angle of incidence. Okay, here it is, I is the angle of incidence, I is the angle of incidence, theta is the angle of reflection, n lambda is the path difference. Okay, now the positive sign indicates that incident beam and emergent beam are present on the same side of grating now. See, this is incident beam, and if reflected beam are on the same side, then it gives a positive sign. If there is a negative sign, so what it indicates, the incident beam is on the this side of grating normal, and reflected beam goes to other side of grating normal. So angle theta is the different for different wavelength. Okay, I is the angle of incidence from this side, you can see on the screen, and theta is the angle of reflection. Okay, thus the light is dispersed into its constituent wavelength at the grating surface. So grating gives a much better dispersion of light than the prism. This is what the application or the advantages of the grating over the prism. It is made up of non-corrosive material like aluminium, which are not easily attacked by the moisture. Grating can be used for the longer wavelength range, okay, as compared to the prism. Okay, and this is what the prism, as compared to prism, grating is more useful for us while doing the experiment. So here it's a double beam spectrophotometer. Now, in double beam spectrophotometer, the monochromatic beam coming from the diffraction grating. See, what is you are using as a diffraction grating? Diffraction grating as a filter. Okay, so coming from the diffraction grating monochromator, okay, is split into two beam by means of small mirror M1. Here it's a mirror M1. The ray is split into two rays. Okay, one ray goes to the sample cell, okay, and other ray goes to the blank cell. Okay, so reference beam is reflected by mirror M2 into a blank cell, okay, that is solvent cell containing the solvent, and the sample beam passing into the sample cell. An optical attenuator mounted in the path of reference beam reduces its intensity to match the sample beam. So beam which is coming from the sample, okay, now that goes to the detector, and the beam coming from the blank, okay, or the solvent, is its intensity is reduced because nothing is going to absorb here. Okay, but here absorption will take place due to the sample. Okay, and here it is only the solvent for which transmittance is 100%, absorbance is 0. So same light which is coming from this side, this passes to attenuator, its intensity is reduced to the intensity of this one. Okay, so both its intensity is reduced to up to this one, which is coming out of sample cell. Now, that is the amount of transmitted light coming from the blank is decreased, so that its intensity will become equal to the light coming from the sample. Attenuator is connected to the recorder pen. It's a PEN, pen, okay, which moves across the chart paper wound on the rotating drum. This is what your rotating drum, okay, on which the chart paper is wound or wrapped, okay, and on that this pen is just moving. It records the whatever readings are obtained, okay, on the for the light coming out this sample, that is recorded. Now two beam are then reflected by mirror M3 and M4 respectively into suitable detector. Okay, see, these two beams are now going to detector. Okay, and the photocell are used as a detector in UV and visible region. The detector produces an electric current which is proportional to the radiation received by it. Okay, and the electric current magnified by the help of amplifier. The electrical signal is then sent to recorder pen. It's a PEN pen. Okay, a monochromator synchronizes the speed of rotating monochromator with that of rotating drum. Carrying the chart paper on it. Okay, and as a result of this, length mark on the chart is identical with the received by the, as a result of the length mark on the chart is identical with the received by the detector. Okay, and from which we can do the analysis of particular substance. Now, this is what the working. Okay, the working of your double beam spectrophotometer, how it works here. So monochromatic, the monochromatic light or the monochromator is rotated, not light, monochromator is rotated and allow different wavelength to fall on the blank and the sample. Okay, so what is monochromator? That was the diffraction grating, and that process of falling the different wavelength on the sample is called scanning. The recorder plane plots the graph of absorbance, okay, or the transmittance, percentage transmittance versus the wavelength of or the frequency or the wave number on the rotating drum. Here you can see in the diagram, absorbance is plotted versus the wavelength, okay, okay, and the graph is obtained like this, okay. So this was the paper. You can consider it was wound on the drum or the, okay, it was a wrap on that drum, and how that pen is recording here, see, that is visible on the screen. The wavelength at which maximum absorption occur are noted from the respective spectra, and the groups responsible for this absorption or transmission are identified. Okay, thus the structure of a sample can be identified from the analysis of spectrum. And there are the different applications, like quantitative and qualitative applications. So it has some limited applications for the qualitative analysis, because the number of absorption maximum and the minima are relatively few in this case. Okay, now it is useful for detecting the presence of certain functional group. Okay, certain functional group that act as a chromophore. Chromo means color bearing. Okay, color bearing. Chromophore means color bearing. A weak absorption band in the region of 280 to 290 nanometer, which is shifts towards the shorter wavelengths with increase by solvent polarity or by increasing solvent polarity, strongly indicates the presence of carbonyl group in the substance. What they are doing here, if you want to find out the carbonyl group, so what you have to do, we have to increase the polarity of the solvent, and as you use the increase the polarity of solvent, so you can shift the wavelength to the area of study, or where you will come to know the presence of carbonyl group in the sample. Okay, this is how you can find out the carbonyl groups. Quantitative analysis. Okay, some quantitative analysis are there. In this one, it is one of the most useful and widely used tool for the quantitative analysis. Okay, now organic compounds containing one or more chromophore can be easily studied with the help of this technique. The number of inorganic species also absorbs and can be directly studied with the help of this technique, but the condition is as such, the inorganic species should absorb the light. Okay, otherwise it is not possible. Now non-absorbing species which can studied by the reaction with the certain reagent. Okay, if you have particular substance, it's not absorbing, so you need to react it with the other substance, so that it become it will show the absorption of light. Okay, that's why I told you before that absorption is necessary for the analysis purpose. Okay, see, you can study the aromatic compound. Okay, you can study the conjugated olefin by using this technique. Okay, then also you can find out the molar concentration of the solute which you are going to study. You can detect some impurities present from the organic compounds. Okay, so again you can find out the isomer like cis trans isomerism, EZ transfer, EZ isomers. You can study with the help of this technique. Then determination of molecular weight using Beer's law is also possible for this technique. Okay, so next technique is a photometric titration. Here name itself indicates. Photometric titrations. Photo means you are using light. Metric means measurement. So what you are doing here, you are doing the titration. You are doing the titration in which either titrant is a light absorbing species or titrant or the analyte is a light absorbing species or the product is light absorbing species. Okay, so either both may be or both may be the light absorbing species, but the primary condition is something should be there which can absorb the light. Okay, so that we can study its absorption. Okay, and in this technique we are finding out the equivalence point of any titration. Okay, and especially the titration in which we cannot distinguish the end point due to the dark color or the intense color of the substances or the titrant, we cannot find out the change at the end point. That is the reason why with the help of this we can study such a substances. Okay, this is what the principle. This is what the principle of photometric titration, in which you are carrying out the measurement of absorbance of a substance using particular suitable titrant. Okay, the absorbance value of solution varies with the concentration of absorbing species present in the solution. The absorbance values are measured during the course of titration. Absorbance values are measured during the course of titration. Okay, what are there? The reactant is there, then titrant is there. You are taking reactant in the either conical flask or beaker, you are taking that, and the titrant is added from the burette. Slowly you are adding from the burette, and system should be closed here. Okay, and you are measuring, light is passing from this side and that coming from that side, so that light is you are measuring and its absorbance you are measuring. Okay, and after doing this, after each addition of the titrant, you are measuring the absorbance. You are measuring the absorbance. Okay, and stirrer is there inside it. You are going to put a stirrer inside it, that we are going to see, and the stirrer is continuously mixing the titrant added to the reactant. Okay, and every time you are measuring the absorbance, at the end you are going to plot a graph of absorbance versus volume of titrant added, by which you can find out the end point of any titration. Okay, so this is how the instrument is photometric titration cell. You can see here, this is what your stirrer, as I told you. Okay, now the stirrer is continuously rotating. These two windows are there. From this side, your light is going inside. Okay, from that side, that light is coming out. Okay, from which you are going to note down the absorbance of solution. Here it is here it is a reactant solution. This is a microburette to add the titrant, and you are adding titrant with the slowly in aliquot manner. Okay, or so this is what the cylindrical titration cell which you are using for the titration purpose. So whatever light path of light is there, that you can see windows are there from which light is passing from one window and coming out of other window. Okay, these are the circular window. These are the circular window on your screen. Okay. And every time you are noting the reading, and that readings of absorbance you are plotting versus the volume of titrant added, and from which you are finding out the actual concentration of the species or which species is present in the solution. Okay, now see here, successive installment, reading at successive installment is very important. After doing each installment or each addition of the titrant, you are going to note down the reading. Okay, because here we are going to plot the graph. Here we are going to plot the graph. As you can see on your screen, here it's absorbance. Okay, on the y-axis, and volume of titrant added on the plotted on the x-axis. Okay, so this is the graph for the titrant alone absorbs the light. Titrant which you are adding from the burette. At the initial stage, there was no titrant. Until which point that titrant is not going to show you the reading till the yield point. Okay, because that is reacting with the titrant or the substance which is present in your conical flask or the beaker. And as the reaction is over, now only concentration or the only substance which is there absorbing species will be your titrant. Okay, and that will, as its concentration increases with the addition, so ultimately absorbance is going to increase. Now in the second graph you can see here again the graph is same, absorbance versus volume of titrant added. Now here product of the reaction is the light absorbing species. Okay, now titration of copper 2 with the EDTA. See now here at the cross section of each these two lines there will be the end point or equivalence point. Okay, see here at the cross section of these two lines there will be the end point. You can see you just come to the x-axis and you will get the end point. Here is again the same case. Here is the end point. Okay, here it's the end point. Okay, or the equivalence point you can say here. Okay, now see initially product the what reaction is occurring between your titrant and titrant. So what happens with the addition of titrant? The concentration of product is increasing because the reaction is taking place, and slowly as you proceed its concentration increases. At particular point all titrant get reacted with the titrant. Now what happened? Only that titrant concentration is going to increase and product concentration will remain constant. Okay, it's not going to increase. Concentration of product is not going to increase. Hence, it's a remain. The absorbance will remain constant now. Okay, because absorbing species is product only. So from where if you plot a line here, you will get the end point. Here in this case, the species converted into non-absorbing product. Non-absorbing product. Okay, means your what happens? Your titrant. Okay, or the analyte which is taken in your conical flask or the burette, the beaker, that is a light absorbing species. Okay, so जसा रिएक्ट होत जाईल त्याचं कॉन्सन्ट्रेशन कमी होईल म्हणजे त्याचा ऍब्सॉर्बन्स अल्टिमेटली सोल्युशनचा ऍब्सॉर्बन्स काय होणार? कमी होणार आहे. पर्टिक्युलर पॉइंटला पूर्णपणे तो रिएक्ट होणार आहे याच्यामध्ये जो घेतलेला आहे तो व्हॉट सबस्टन्स वी आर टेकिंग इन इट. Okay, and later on the absorbance will remain constant because no more species reactant species or the reactant is available to show the absorbance. Okay, hence here absorbance remains constant. Okay, आणि ह्या साइडला तो कमी कमी होत जातो आहे कारण याचं कॉन्सन्ट्रेशन रिएक्ट जसे रिएक्शन होईल तसा दुसरा प्रोडक्ट तयार होतो आहे आणि तो प्रोडक्ट काही तुमचा लाईट ऍब्सॉर्ब करत नाही आणि त्याच्यामुळे याचा ऍब्सॉर्बन्स कमी होत जाईल. Now here in this case where a colored species is converted to the colorless product by colored titrant. See what happened. A colored species is converted to the colorless product by a colored titrant. What happens here? Initially whatever taken in the beaker or the cylinder, okay, that was the absorbing species. But as you were adding the titrant from the burette, so what happened? There was a continuous reaction between these two species, what you are adding and the whatever was present over here. So its concentration get decreased, whatever was present in the reacting flask. Okay, and at certain point its concentration will that concentration will become zero. And नंतर काय वरतून जो तुम्ही titrant add करताय त्याचं concentration वाढणार आहे and that is also a absorbing species. Okay, so both the species were light absorbing species and hence the absorbance initially goes on decreasing due to reaction between these two. कारण जो product तयार होत होता that was not light absorbing species. Okay, आणि म्हणून that the graph shows V-like structure. Okay, and this is what your end point. This is what your end point, or you can say equivalence point. So on each and every graph you can plot or you can see find out the equivalence point or the end point. Okay, now what are its advantages? Okay, so presence of other absorbing impurities will not disturb during this analysis. This is very important. It's more accurate because data from the several measurements are used to calculate the end point. Is used to calculate the end point. Okay, and in this case relatively dilute solutions are used. Then non-absorbing species can also be analyzed with the help of this technique. Okay, few more applications are there. So you can find out the dissociation constant of weak acid and weak bases. Okay, then you can find out the composition of complex ions determination of chlorine from water, then determination of total calcium and magnesium from the water. That means you are finding out the hardness of the water. Okay. Then determination of silicon, calcium, magnesium, iron, aluminium from the cement. Okay. So this is what the technique we can use for that purpose. You can also analyze jam, fruits and vegetable juices. Okay. For their concentration. Okay. So this is how the technique works. So in this topic, we learn actually 5 techniques, out of which principally you can say 3 techniques you learn. So colorimeter, spectrophotometer, and the this technique, last one technique. Okay, the photometric titration. So colorimeter are of two type, single beam colorimeter and double beam colorimeter. Spectrophotometer are of 2 types, single beam and double beam spectrophotometer. And this is what the photometric titration technique. Okay, photometric titration technique. So this is what all about this syllabus. Okay.